My divorce attorney closed the file folder and looked at me with those tired, seen-it-all eyes that lawyers develop after years of watching marriages die. "Mrs. Anderson," he said slowly, "before we finalize anything, there's something in the phone records you need to see." I sat across from him in his corner office overlooking downtown Chicago, the November rain streaking the windows behind him. My hands were folded in my lap, nails bitten down to nothing after 2 years of a dying marriage. David and I were done. The papers were ready. I just needed to sign them and walk away from 15 years of my life. "What is it?" I asked, my voice hollow. I was so tired. Tired of crying, tired of fighting, tired of trying to understand where it all went wrong. Mr. Peterson, William, he told me to call him William, slid a printed document across his mahogany desk. Phone records. Pages and pages of them. "Your husband's cell phone shows 847 text messages exchanged with a contact listed as Jessica Anderson over the past 2 years." The room tilted. Jessica Anderson. My best friend since college. The woman who'd been my maid of honor. The godmother of my 7-year-old daughter, Lily. The person I called when David and I fought, when I needed advice, when I felt like I was drowning in my marriage. That's my best friend," I whispered. William's expression didn't change. He'd probably seen this exact scenario play out 100 times. "I am aware. Most of these messages were sent between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. My hands started shaking. I pressed them flat against my thighs, trying to stop the trembling that was spreading through my entire body. "What do the messages say?" He hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. "Mrs. Anderson, perhaps you should sit down properly. Have some water." "I am sitting down. What do the messages say?" He opened another folder. Printed screenshots. Hundreds of them. He didn't hand them to me. Instead, he read from the first page, his voice professionally neutral. "From Jessica, sent at 11:47 p.m. on March 15th, 2 years ago. He doesn't deserve you, Sarah. You deserve so much better. Response from David at 11:52 p.m. Coming from you, that means everything. From Jessica at 11:58 p.m. When are you going to realize what's been right in front of you this whole time?" "Stop!" I wanted to scream the word, but it came out as barely a whisper. "Stop!" William closed the folder. "There are 847 messages like this, Mrs. Anderson. Some are worse. Some are much worse. The question is, do you want to see them, or do you want me to summarize the situation?" I stared at the closed folder like it was a snake coiled on his desk. 2 years. 847 messages? While I was calling Jessica, crying about my marriage falling apart, she was texting my husband in the middle of the night. "Summarize," I said, my voice sounding strange even to my own ears. Distant, like I was listening to someone else speak. William leaned back in his leather chair. "Based on these messages, it appears your friend Jessica has been systematically encouraging your husband to divorce you for approximately 2 years. She's positioned herself as his confidant, his emotional support, and based on messages from the last 6 months, something more." "Something more? Are they sleeping together?" The question came out clinical, detached. "The messages suggest a physical relationship began approximately 8 months ago." 8 months? I thought back. 8 months ago was March. Lily's 7th birthday party. Jessica had come early to help me set up. She'd stayed late to help clean up. David had been distant that whole week, claiming work stress. Had they? Where? Where did they? The messages referenced several hotels downtown. The Palmer House, the Langham, once at what appears to be Jessica's apartment. Her apartment? The one I'd helped her move into 3 years ago. The one where we'd had girls' nights, where Lily had sleepovers with Jessica's godson from her sister's family. That apartment. My chest felt tight. I couldn't breathe properly. The walls of William's office seemed to be closing in. "Mrs. Anderson, I need you to breathe. Sarah, look at me and breathe." I forced air into my lungs. Once,
Twice, 3 times. I'm okay, I lied.
There's more, William said gently. And I'm telling you this because it will come out in the divorce proceedings anyway. It's better you hear it from me. More? How could there possibly be more? In the messages, there are several instances where Jessica appears to be actively sabotaging your marriage, encouraging fights, suggesting that David is unhappy, planting doubts about your parenting, your career, your appearance. I remembered. God, I remembered. 2 years ago, when this apparently started, Jessica had begun making little comments. David seems stressed. Are things okay at home? You should really take better care of yourself, Sarah. David's a successful man. He needs a wife who... I ran into David downtown yesterday. He looked so exhausted. Are you taking care of him? At the time, I thought she was concerned, trying to help me see problems I was too close to notice. Now I understood. She hadn't been helping me see problems. She'd been creating them. I need to see the messages, I said suddenly. All of them. Sarah, I really don't think... Show me. William sighed and slid the folder across the desk. I opened it with trembling hands. The first message was dated exactly 2 years and 3 months ago, March 15th, the night after David and I had a huge fight about his long work hours. I'd called Jessica, sobbing, and she told me to take some time for myself and not worry so much. Jessica, 11:47 p.m. Just got off the phone with Sarah. She's a mess. Crying about you working late again? David, 11:52 p.m. I know. I don't know what to do anymore. Nothing I do is right. Jessica, 11:58 p.m. Maybe nothing you do is right for her, but that doesn't mean you're the problem, David. Some people just aren't compatible. I flipped through more pages. Each message was a dagger. Each one rewrote a memory I trusted. The night I told Jessica that David and I were in therapy won't fix this. Some relationships are just over. Don't waste more years trying to resuscitate something that's already dead. The weekend I'd asked Jessica to watch Lily so David and I could have a romantic getaway to Michigan. She's trying too hard. That's desperation, not love. You deserve someone who doesn't have to try so hard to keep your interest. My birthday last year, when David forgot and Jessica took me out for drinks instead. I can't believe he forgot your birthday, Sarah. You deserve so much better. You should leave him. That same night to David. Forgot Sarah's birthday again. She's at the bar drowning her sorrows. When are you going to admit this marriage is over? I felt physically ill. I pushed the folder away and pressed my hand to my mouth, fighting the urge to vomit. Mrs. Anderson, when did it turn physical? I interrupted, my voice sharp. You said 8 months ago. What was the first message that indicated they'd crossed that line? William flipped through the pages until he found what he was looking for. He hesitated, then read. From David, March 23rd. Last night was a mistake. We can't do that again. I'm still married. Response from Jessica. Your marriage ended 2 years ago, David. You just haven't filed the papers yet. Last night wasn't a mistake. It was inevitable. Last night, March 22nd. I checked my phone's calendar even though I already knew what I'd find. March 22nd was the night David told me he had a late business dinner. The night he came home at 2 a.m. smelling like shower gel. The night I asked if everything was okay and he snapped at me that I was being paranoid and controlling. I had called Jessica the next morning crying. I think David might be cheating, I'd told her. Oh, honey, she'd said, her voice full of sympathy. That's just your insecurity talking. David loves you. You need to trust him more. The suspicion isn't healthy. She'd gaslighted me. While sleeping with my husband, my best friend had convinced me I was crazy for suspecting exactly what was happening. How many times? How many times did they... The messages reference approximately 15 separate encounters over 8 months. 15 times.
While I was asking her advice about saving my marriage, she was actively destroying it from the inside. Did David know that she was my best friend? I mean, did he know she was manipulating both of us? William's expression softened with something like pity. Based on the messages, yes. In fact, there are several instances where they discuss keeping it secret from you specifically. And there's this one from Jessica, dated 6 months ago. Sarah's getting suspicious. I told her she's being paranoid. I'm better at lying to her than you are, David. Let me handle her.
I closed my eyes, trying to process everything. 2 years of my best friend systematically destroying my marriage. 2 years of lies, manipulation, and betrayal. And David, my husband of 15 years, had gone along with every bit of it? Mr. Peterson, I said, opening my eyes. My voice was different now, harder. I need you to do something for me. Of course, David wants this divorce. He's been pushing for it for 6 months. He wants to settle quickly, split everything 50-50, share custody of Lily. Yes, that's been his position. That's not going to happen anymore. I leaned forward, my hands flat on his desk. I want you to subpoena every one of those text messages. I want them entered as evidence. I want to depose Jessica. I want David to explain to a judge why he deserves anything when he's been cheating with my best friend for 8 months and planning this divorce with her for 2 years. William looked at me for a long moment. Then he smiled. The first real smile I'd seen from him. Now we're talking. Do you want to pursue alienation of affection charges against Jessica? Can we do that in Illinois? No, unfortunately, Illinois abolished that law. But we can make her testify about her role in encouraging the affair and destroying your marriage. We can make this very uncomfortable for both of them. Good. I stood up, feeling stronger than I had in 2 years. I'm not signing anything yet. I want to confront them first, both of them. I would advise against, I don't care. David and I are having our 25th anniversary party next month. We've already sent the invitations. His whole family is coming, my whole family, all our friends. Jessica's invited, of course. I smiled, and it felt like breaking glass. I think that would be the perfect time to share these messages with everyone, don't you? William looked almost impressed. Mrs. Anderson, if you're planning what I think you're planning, I need to advise you that creating a public scene could potentially harm your case. Let me worry about that. You just worry about making sure when I divorce David, he loses everything he deserves to lose. I walked out of that office a different woman than I'd walked in. The rain had stopped, and the November sun was breaking through the clouds. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to Jessica's name in my contacts.
She texted me 3 hours ago. Coffee tomorrow? Want to check in on you. I know the divorce is hard. I'm here for you. Always. Heart. I stared at that heart emoji. The lies were so easy for her. So effortless. I texted back, yes, coffee sounds perfect. I have so much to tell you. You won't believe what I just found out. Her response came immediately. Can't wait. Meet at our usual spot at 10? Perfect. See you then, bestie. I put my phone away and started walking. I had a lot of planning to do before the anniversary party next month. But first, I had a coffee date with my best friend, and she had absolutely no idea what was coming. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my daughter Lily's doorway and watched her sleep, her small chest rising and falling under her unicorn comforter. She was 7 years old, innocent, blissfully unaware that the 2 adults she trusted most in the world besides me had been lying to her for months. Jessica was her godmother. She'd been at the hospital the day Lily was born, holding my hand while I pushed, crying tears of joy when they placed my daughter in my arms. She'd thrown Lily's first birthday party. She'd taught her to ride a bike.
She'd been Auntie Jess for 7 years, and all that time, she'd been planning to steal Lily's father. My phone buzzed. A text from David. Working late. Don't wait up. It was 11:47 p.m., the same time those messages to Jessica always started. I opened my laptop and logged into the phone account. William had shown me how. David didn't know I had access now. I watched the messages appear in real time. David, 11:49 p.m. She was in my office today. Saw her with Peterson. Jessica, the lawyer? Did she seem suspicious? David, no, just tired. Defeated. I almost felt bad. Jessica, don't. She's been holding you back for years. Once this is over, we can finally be together. Really together. No more sneaking around. David, what about Sarah's reaction when she finds out about us? Jessica, what can she do? She's weak, David. She always has been. That's why you fell out of love with her. She'll cry, she'll rage, and then she'll sign the papers. And we'll finally have the life we should have had all along. The life they should have had all along. I closed the laptop before I threw it across the room. Instead, I did something I should have done months ago. I opened my closet and pulled out the box of old photographs from college. 20 years of friendship, documented in fading Polaroids and printed digital photos. Jessica and I met freshman year at Northwestern. We were randomly assigned as roommates. She was from Los Angeles. I was from a small town in Ohio. We should have had nothing in common, but somehow we clicked. She was bold where I was cautious. She was glamorous where I was plain. She pushed me out of my comfort zone, and I grounded her when her ambitions got too wild. Or at least that's what I'd always thought. I flipped through the photos now, looking for something I'd missed. Some sign that the woman I'd trusted for 20 years had always been capable of this betrayal. There. Junior year. A party at some frat house. Jessica was draped over a guy named Marcus, my boyfriend at the time. I'd taken the photo, laughing, thinking nothing of it. She's just affectionate, I told myself. When Marcus mentioned Jessica made him uncomfortable, that's just how she is. 2 weeks later, Marcus broke up with me. He never said why, just that he didn't think we were compatible. I'd cried on Jessica's shoulder for hours. She bought me ice cream and told me Marcus was an idiot. I found another photo. Senior year. My boyfriend Ryan, who I dated for 8 months. The longest relationship I'd had in college. In this photo, Jessica's hand was on Ryan's arm, her head tilted toward him, laughing at something. I remembered that night. She'd been telling him about her marketing internship, how stressful it was. Ryan had been so supportive, Jessica had said later. You're lucky to have a guy who cares about your friends. Ryan dumped me a month before graduation. I just don't think we're right for each other long term, he'd said. Vague, gentle, final. And Jessica had been there, helping me pack up my dorm room, telling me I'd find someone better. Pattern recognition is a terrible thing. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. I grabbed my phone and started searching. Facebook first. Marcus, my junior year boyfriend, was married now, living in Seattle. I sent him a message. Hi, Marcus. I know this is random after 17 years, but I need to ask you something. When we broke up in college, was it because of Jessica? I didn't expect a response. It was midnight, but my phone pinged within minutes. Marcus. Jesus. Yes. I'm sorry I never told you. She came on to me at that party where you took the photo, kissed me when you went to the bathroom. I pushed her away, but she told me if I said anything to you, she'd tell you I initiated it. I didn't know what to do, so I just ended things with you instead. I was young and stupid. I should have told you the truth. My hand shook as I typed. Did anything else happen between you two? Marcus. No. But she texted me for months afterward, asking if I wanted to hang out. I blocked her eventually. Sarah, is everything okay? I didn't answer. Instead,
I searched for Ryan, found him on LinkedIn, sent him a similar message. Ryan responded an hour later. I wondered if you'd ever figure it out. Yes, Jessica seduced me the night of that photo. I was drunk and stupid. It happened twice before I felt so guilty I broke up with you. She told me you'd never believe me if I said anything. I'm sorry. I've carried that guilt for 16 years. 16 years. Jessica had been destroying my relationships for 16 years. But why? That was the question that kept me up all night. Why would my best friend systematically sabotage every relationship I'd ever had? I thought back to college, to the dynamic between us. Jessica was always more successful with men than I was. She was prettier, more confident, more exciting, but there was something else. Something I'd noticed but never really examined. Jessica always wanted what I had. When I got an A on a paper, she needed an A+. When I got an internship, she needed a better one. When I bought a dress, she'd buy the same dress in a different color and then say hers looked better. Competition. Our entire friendship had been a competition I didn't know I was playing. And then I met David. I flipped through more photos until I found the ones from 8 years ago. David and I had been dating for 6 months. It was the first truly healthy relationship I'd ever had. David was kind, stable, successful. He wasn't dramatic or volatile like the college boys I'd dated. He was grown up, ready for marriage, talking about building a future. I brought him to meet Jessica over dinner. She'd been living in LA at the time, working in marketing for a tech startup. She flew to Chicago specifically to meet him. I need to make sure he's good enough for my best friend, she'd said. In the photo from that dinner, Jessica looked different. Her smile was tight. Her eyes weren't warm. She was wearing a red dress that showed more skin than was appropriate for a casual dinner. David had mentioned it on the drive home. Your friend is intense. I said she was just protective. She wants to make sure you're good to me. But that wasn't what Jessica wanted at all, was it? Over the next year, as David and I got engaged and then married, Jessica's behavior had been odd. She'd insisted on being maid of honor, but she'd argued with me about every wedding decision. That dress makes you look washed out. Those flowers are too traditional. Are you sure you want to marry so young? You're only 27. I chucked it up to stress. Jessica's startup had failed, and she'd moved back to Chicago around the same time as my wedding. She was staying with her parents, looking for work. She was going through a hard time. Of course she was cranky. But now I understood. Jessica hadn't been stressed. She'd been jealous. I'd won. I'd found a good man, gotten married, built a life, and Jessica, for the first time in our 20-year friendship, didn't have something better. So she decided to take what I had. I found the last photo in the box, my wedding day. Jessica standing next to me in her burgundy bridesmaid's dress, holding my bouquet while I signed the marriage license. In the photo, she's not looking at the camera. She's looking at David.
And her expression is one I'd never seen on her face before. Not quite anger, not quite sadness. Hunger. My phone buzzed. A text from Jessica. Morning. Still on for coffee at 10? Can't wait to catch up. Heart. I looked at the time. 6:47 a.m. I hadn't slept at all. Absolutely, I texted back. I have so much to tell you. I spent the next 3 hours preparing. I printed out 20 of the most damning text messages between Jessica and David. I put them in a folder. I practiced what I would say, how I would say it. I thought about recording the conversation, but Illinois is a two-party consent state. I needed her to know I was recording or it wouldn't be admissible. Actually, that gave me an idea. At 9:45, I walked into our favorite coffee shop, The Daily Grind, a little place in Lincoln Park where Jessica and I had been meeting for weekend coffee for the past 8 years. The barista, Emma, knew both of us by name. She waved when she saw me. Your usual, Sarah? Yes, please. And Jessica's usual, too. She'll be here in a minute. I chose our regular table, the corner booth with the good lighting. Jessica liked to take selfies here for her Instagram.
She was always performing, always curating an image of the perfect life. Today, that image was going to shatter. Jessica walked in at exactly 10 o'clock. She was wearing designer jeans that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget and a cashmere sweater that clung to her figure. Her hair was perfectly blown out. Her makeup was flawless. She looked like an Instagram filter come to life. She saw me and broke into a huge smile. "Sarah!" She rushed over and hugged me tight. I hugged her back, feeling her Chanel perfume, the same perfume David had been smelling of for months, fill my nostrils. "You look terrible," she said, pulling back to study my face. "Have you been sleeping? You need to take better care of yourself during this stressful time." I forced a smile. I had a lot on my mind last night. We sat down and Emma brought our coffees. Jessica launched into a monologue about her week, a difficult client, a yoga class she loved, a new restaurant she wanted to try. I let her talk, watching her face, looking for signs of guilt or conscience. There were none. She was either a phenomenal actress or she genuinely felt nothing about what she'd done. "So," she said finally, leaning forward with those concerned eyes that had fooled me for 20 years, "how are you doing? Really? I know the divorce is hard, but honestly, Sarah, I think you're making the right choice. You and David, you've grown apart. It happens. You deserve to be with someone who truly appreciates you." There it was, the same manipulation she'd been using for 2 years, framing David's betrayal as somehow my fault, as if I'd failed to be appreciated rather than been actively cheated on. "Actually, I wanted to talk to you about David," her expression flickered. "Just for a second." "Oh? Yeah. My lawyer showed me something yesterday. Something that really surprised me." I opened a folder and slid the first printed text message across the table. Jessica's face went white as she read it. "That's from 2 years ago," I said conversationally, sipping my coffee. "March 15th, the night I called you crying about David working late. Do you remember what you told me?" She didn't answer. She was staring at the paper like it might bite her. "You told me I was being too needy, that I needed to give David space, that successful men need understanding wives." I slid another message across the table. "And then, 11 minutes after we hung up, you texted my husband and told him I was a mess and that he deserved better." Sarah, there are 847 messages like this, Jess. 847. Over 2 years. Would you like to see more? I spread them across the table like a hand of cards. Here's the one where you told him therapy wouldn't save our marriage. Here's the one where you convinced him I was a bad mother. Oh, and this one, this is my favorite. This is the night you took me out for drinks on my birthday. While I was crying on your shoulder about feeling unappreciated, you were texting my husband that I was pathetic. Her hands were shaking. She tried to grab the papers, but I pulled them back. Don't bother. These are copies. My lawyer has the originals, along with the phone records showing you and David exchanged these messages mostly between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. When you were supposed to be my best friend, helping me through my marriage crisis. You were actually orchestrating it.
"It's not what it looks like," she whispered. I laughed. It came out harsh, bitter. "Really? Because it looks like you've been systematically destroying my marriage for 2 years. It looks like you've been sleeping with my husband for 8 months. It looks like you've been lying to my face while plotting to steal my family." Jessica's eyes filled with tears. "Sarah, please, let me explain. It's complicated." "Complicated? You fucked my husband. You gaslit me into thinking I was crazy for suspecting it. You used our 20-year friendship as cover while you stole my life. What's complicated about that?" The coffee shop had gone quiet. I didn't care. Let them hear. Let everyone hear what Jessica Anderson really was. "You want to know what the worst part is?" I asked, my voice dropping low. "I went back through old photos last night.
And I realized you've been doing this to me since college. Marcus, Ryan, every boyfriend I ever had. You sabotaged all of them." Her tears stopped. Her expression hardened. "You're being ridiculous." "Marcus told me. Last night. About how you kissed him at that party and then threatened him. Ryan told me too. About the 2 times you slept with him while he was dating me." I leaned forward. 20 years, Jessica. 20 years of you systematically destroying my happiness because you can't stand to see me have something you don't. That's not true. Then tell me the truth. Why? Why did you do this? For a long moment, she just stared at me. Then something in her face changed. The mask dropped. The friend I'd known for 20 years disappeared, replaced by a stranger with cold, calculating eyes. "You really want to know?" she asked quietly. "Yes, because you don't deserve him. You never did. David is brilliant, successful, ambitious, and you're mediocre, Sarah. You've always been mediocre. Average grades, average career, average everything. But somehow you kept winning. You got the scholarships I deserved. You got the jobs I interviewed for. And then you got David." I couldn't breathe. "You've spent 20 years watching you succeed at things you didn't deserve, watching men choose you over me when I'm prettier, smarter, more successful. And I got tired of it. So yes, I destroyed your college relationships. And yes, I went after David because he deserves someone extraordinary. Someone like me. Not someone who's just ordinary." The silence that followed was deafening. "Wow," I finally said. 20 years, and I never really knew you at all." Jessica stood up abruptly. "I'm leaving. And Sarah, you can't prove any of this in court. Those text messages don't prove an affair. They prove David and I are close friends who commiserate about his unhappy marriage. Any lawyer will spin it that way." "Maybe," I agreed. "But you're forgetting something." "What?" "The anniversary party next month. The one I'm throwing for David and me. The one celebrating 25 years of knowing each other, 15 years of marriage. You're invited, remember? You RSVP'd, yes." Her face went pale again. "Everyone will be there," I continued. "David's family, my family, all our friends, all the people who've known you as my best friend for 20 years. And I'm going to stand up in front of all of them and tell this exact story. I'm going to show them these messages. I'm going to explain exactly who you are and what you've done." "You wouldn't." "Wouldn't I?" I stood up, gathering my papers. "You stole my husband, Jessica. You destroyed my marriage, lied to my face, and manipulated me for years. But worse than that, you did it all while pretending to be my best friend, while playing godmother to my daughter, while sitting at my dinner table and sleeping in my guest room." I leaned in close. "So yes, I'm going to destroy you the same way you destroyed me. Publicly, thoroughly, completely. I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person you really are." I walked out of that coffee shop and didn't look back. But I heard her calling my name, heard the desperation in her voice. Good. Let her feel desperate. Let her feel the same panic I'd felt reading those messages. Because the real revenge hadn't even started yet.
Would you have confronted her privately, or was public exposure the right choice? But Jessica's reaction to the confrontation was just the beginning, because what I didn't know was that she'd been planning this for much longer than 2 years, and the anniversary party would reveal secrets that went back even further. Secrets about how David and Jessica first connected, and who really pursued whom. The anniversary party was in 3 weeks, and I had a lot of work to do.
I spent the next week becoming someone I didn't recognize, a detective, a spy, a woman obsessed with uncovering every lie that had been told to her. The morning after confronting Jessica, I woke up to 17 missed calls from David, 16 texts, all saying variations of the same thing. Jessica called me crying. "What the hell did you say to her? You're being irrational. We need to talk about your behavior." My behavior?
I didn't respond. Instead, I called William Peterson. I need you to hire the private investigator you mentioned, I said. I want to know everything. When this affair really started, where they've been meeting, if there's more I don't know about. Sarah, the text messages are already damning evidence. It's not about the divorce anymore. It's about the truth. I need to understand how deep this betrayal goes. William was quiet for a moment. All right. But Sarah, sometimes the truth is worse than we imagine. Are you prepared for that? I've been living a lie for 2 years, maybe longer. I think I can handle the truth. I was wrong. The investigator's name was Marcus Chen. Yes, same first name as my college boyfriend. The universe apparently had a sixth sense of humor. He was in his 40s, former Chicago PD, with tired eyes that had seen too much human ugliness. We met at a diner in Pilsen, away from my neighborhood where David's colleagues might see us. Mrs. Anderson, Marcus said, sliding a manila folder across the cracked Formica table. I've been working your case for 6 days. What I found, it's extensive. I opened the folder. Photographs spilled out. David and Jessica entering the Palmer House Hotel. David and Jessica at a restaurant in Wicker Park, holding hands across the table. David and Jessica walking through Millennium Park, his arm around her waist. These are from the last 8 months, Marcus explained, since the affair allegedly went physical. But I went back further, like you asked, and that's where it gets interesting. He pulled out another set of photos, older, grainier, security camera footage printed on standard paper. This is from 2 years and 4 months ago, before the text messages started. He pointed to a timestamp, February 10th, 11:37 p.m. Recognize the location? I squinted at the image. A bar. Dark, upscale. And there, in the corner booth, David and Jessica, leaning close, her hand on his arm. That's the Violet Hour, I said slowly. I know that place. It's in Wicker Park. Jessica used to go there with her coworkers. According to the bartender I interviewed, they were regulars for about 6 months before this photo was taken. Every Tuesday night, they had a standing table. My head spun. 6 months? But that means the affair started at least 2 years and 10 months ago? Possibly longer. The text messages you found, those were just what your husband was careless enough to leave in his phone records. There was likely communication before that. 3 years. Almost 3 years of lies. How did they even start? I asked, my voice hollow. David and Jessica knew each other through me. They weren't friends. Marcus pulled out his notepad. I interviewed several people who knew both of them. Apparently, about 4 years ago, your husband's company hired Jessica's marketing firm for a campaign. They worked together for 6 months. That's when they got close. 4 years ago? When Lily was 3. When I was drowning in early motherhood, exhausted and overwhelmed. When David started working late more often and I'd been grateful for Jessica's support. There's more, Marcus said gently. I found Jessica's calendar from 3 years ago. She kept meticulous records, probably for billing purposes, but it shows regular dinner meetings with David starting 36 months ago. Some of those dinners were on nights when you thought both of them were busy with other things. I remembered. 3 years ago, there was a month where Jessica had been traveling constantly for work, and David had been slammed with a major project. I'd spent that month essentially alone, caring for Lily, wondering why I felt so isolated. They'd been together, planning this, building their relationship, while I, unknowingly, provided them cover.
I need to know something, I said, looking Marcus directly in the eye. Who pursued whom? Was David unhappy in our marriage and Jessica swooped in, or did she orchestrate this from the beginning? Marcus hesitated. Based on everything I've uncovered, I'd say Jessica was the architect. Your husband was definitely a willing participant, I'm not excusing him, but Jessica has a pattern. What do you mean? He pulled out another folder. I did some digging into Jessica's past. She's done this before. 3 times that I can confirm. The world tilted again. In Los Angeles, before she moved to Chicago, she had an affair with her boss. He was married, 2 kids. The wife found out, divorced him. Jessica moved to Chicago 2 months later. I remember that move, I whispered. She told me she needed a fresh start, that LA had too many bad memories. Before LA, she was in San Francisco. There, she was involved with a married colleague. His wife was pregnant at the time. When the wife found out, the husband tried to reconcile with her. Jessica moved to LA. Jesus Christ. And before that, in Chicago, the first time, when you two were in college, she had an affair with a professor. He was married. His wife taught at the same university. When it came out, he nearly lost his tenure. Jessica transferred to Northwestern's LA program to pursue better opportunities. I stared at the photographs spread across the table. A pattern. A 20-year pattern of Jessica targeting married men, destroying families, and moving on when the situation became inconvenient. She's a predator. Yes, Marcus agreed, and she's very good at it. She identifies emotionally vulnerable men in stable marriages, positions herself as a confidant, and slowly turns the friendship into something more. By the time the affair starts, the husband has already emotionally left his wife. Jessica is just providing the physical component. But why David? Why my husband specifically? Marcus looked uncomfortable. Mrs. Anderson, I think you know why. I did. Because David was mine. Because after 20 years of me having things Jessica wanted, she'd decided to take the most important thing of all, my family. There's something else, Marcus said. I found evidence that Jessica has been planning to get pregnant. My blood went cold. What? He showed me a receipt. A fertility clinic in downtown Chicago, Jessica's name, dated 3 months ago. She's been tracking her ovulation. She's been seeing a fertility specialist, and based on the timing of her appointments, she's been trying to conceive around the same time your husband files for divorce. I couldn't breathe. I literally could not get air into my lungs. She wants to trap him. She wants to get pregnant so David feels obligated to stay with her after the divorce. That would be my assessment, yes. I thought about Lily, about my sweet, innocent 7-year-old who loved Auntie Jess, who had no idea that her godmother was trying to replace her with a new child, David's child, a child that would be chosen, wanted, planned, everything Lily suddenly wouldn't be once David had a new family. Does David know? I asked. About her trying to get pregnant? Marcus shook his head. I don't believe so. The clinic records show she listed herself as single. She's using a cover story, probably told David she's on birth control. Another lie, another manipulation. Jessica had been lying to everyone, including the man she claimed to love. I gathered all the photos, all the receipts, all the evidence of 3 years of betrayal. Can you have all of this ready to present at the anniversary party? I want copies. I want everything organized chronologically. I want a timeline that shows exactly how Jessica systematically destroyed my marriage. Mrs. Anderson, I have to ask, are you sure about the public confrontation? It's going to be nuclear for everyone involved. I'm sure, I said. David's entire family will be there. His mother, his siblings, his colleagues from work. They all think he's leaving me because we grew apart. They all think Jessica is my supportive best friend. They need to know the truth. Marcus nodded slowly. All right, I'll have everything ready. But Sarah, and I hope you don't mind me using your first name, you should prepare yourself. Once you do this, there's no going back. David will be humiliated. Jessica will be destroyed. Your family will be caught in the crossfire.
My family is already destroyed, I said quietly. David destroyed it when he started sleeping with my best friend. Jessica destroyed it when she spent 3 years manipulating both of us. I'm just making sure everyone sees the ruins clearly. I left the diner and drove to Lily's school. It was 2:45 p.m., almost pickup time. I sat in my car in the parking lot watching the other mothers gathered by the entrance. laughing, chatting, normal. Their lives weren't imploding. Their husbands weren't cheating. Their best friends weren't sociopaths. I envied them so much it hurt. Lily came running out when the bell rang, her backpack bouncing. "Mommy!" I scooped her up, breathing in her little girl smell of crayons and playground mulch. "Hi, baby. How was school?" "Good. We learned about butterflies. Did you know they taste with their feet?" "I didn't know that." I buckled her into her car seat. "Lily, can Mommy ask you something?" "Uh-huh. Has Auntie Jess been asking you questions about Daddy lately?" Lily's face scrunched up in thought. Sometimes. She asked if Daddy was happy and if he smiled a lot at home, and if you and Daddy fought." My hands tightened on the steering wheel. "What did you tell her?" "I said, Daddy seems sad sometimes, and that you and Daddy talk in serious voices when you think I'm asleep." She looked worried. "Did I do something wrong?" "No, baby. You didn't do anything wrong." I met her eyes in the rearview mirror. "But from now on, if Auntie Jess asks questions about Mommy and Daddy, I want you to tell me, okay? Can you do that?" "Okay." She paused. "Mommy, are you and Daddy getting divorced?" The question hit me like a physical blow. I pulled over to the curb and turned around in my seat. "Yes, honey, we are." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "Is it because of me?" "Oh, baby, no." I unbuckled and climbed into the back seat, pulling her into my arms. "It's not because of you, not even a little bit. Daddy and we have problems that are only between grown-ups. You are perfect and loved, and this is not your fault. But where will I live? Will I still see Daddy? You'll live with me, and you'll see Daddy lots. We're both going to make sure you're taken care of no matter what. What about Auntie Jess? Will she still be my godmother?" I closed my eyes. "We'll talk about that later, okay? Right now, I just need you to know that Mommy loves you more than anything in the whole world." We sat like that for a long time, Lily crying quietly against my shoulder while I stroked her hair and tried not to fall apart. When I got home, David's car was in the driveway. He was sitting in the living room, still in his work suit, looking exhausted. "We need to talk," he said when I walked in. I sent Lily to her room with her iPad. Then I turned to face my husband of 15 years. "Yes," I said, "we do." David stood up, running his hands through his hair, a gesture I'd once found endearing. Now it just looked calculated. "Jessica told me what you said to her about the text messages. Sarah, you've taken them completely out of context." "Have I?" "Yes, Jessica and I are close friends. Yes, we confide in each other about our personal lives, but we're not having an affair. You're being paranoid." And the Palmer House Hotel, March 23rd, room 1247. The Langham, April 15th, room 823. The Conrad, May 3rd. Stop. Jessica's apartment, 17 separate occasions over 8 months. Stop. David's face was red. Who's been following us? Does it matter? You were saying I'm paranoid, but I have photographic evidence of you and Jessica entering hotel rooms together. I have credit card records showing you paid for those rooms. I have witness statements from bartenders who remember you as regulars at bars where married men take their mistresses. David sat down hard on the couch. For a long moment, he said nothing. "Why?" I finally asked. "Just tell me why. If you are so unhappy, why not just divorce me 3 years ago? Why the lying? Why the gaslighting? Why make me feel crazy when I knew, David, I knew something was wrong?"
"Because I didn't want to be the bad guy," he said quietly. "I didn't want to be the husband who left his wife and kid. I wanted you to be the one to give up, to decide the marriage wasn't worth saving, so I could leave with a clear conscience. The honesty of it was almost worse than the lies." "And Jessica helped you with that?" I said. "She encouraged you to emotionally distance yourself from me. She validated all your complaints about our marriage. She made you feel justified in your unhappiness." "She understood me," David said. "She understood the pressure I'm under.
The stress of my career. You never understood that part of my life. Because you shut me out 3 years ago. I tried, David. I asked about your work. I supported your career. I took care of everything at home so you could focus. And you repaid me by fucking my best friend and making me feel like I was crazy for suspecting it. David flinched at the language. Don't be crude. Crude? You want to talk about crude? How about you sleeping with Jessica in our guest bed while I was at Lily's school conference? How about you taking her to our favorite restaurant, the one where you proposed to me for your anniversary of when you first slept together? His face went white. How do you know that? I know everything, David. I know about the fertility clinic. I know Jessica's trying to get pregnant. I know you've been lying to me for at least 3 years, possibly longer. I know you and Jessica started your emotional affair before the text messages, before the hotels, before you even admitted to yourself that you wanted out of our marriage. Sarah, the anniversary party is in 2 weeks, I said calmly. Everyone's coming. Your mother, your brothers, my parents, all our friends. And I'm going to stand up in front of all of them and show them exactly who you are. Both of you. David stood up, his face hardening. If you do that, I'll make the divorce hell for you. I'll fight for custody of Lily. I'll drag you through court for years. You'll what? Tell a judge that you should have custody because you're having an affair with my best friend? Because you've been lying to your daughter about where you spend your nights? Because you're planning a new family with your mistress? I laughed hollow. Please, David, try it. My lawyer would love to hear your argument. David grabbed his car keys. I'm not doing this right now. When you're ready to be rational, I am being rational. For the first time in 3 years, I'm seeing everything clearly. And what I see is that the man I loved died years ago, and I've been married to a liar ever since. He left without another word. I stood in my living room, the home we'd bought together, decorated together, raised our daughter in, and felt absolutely nothing. The numbness was almost worse than the lies. My phone buzzed. A text from Jessica. Sarah, please, let's talk about this like adults. You're going to ruin 3 lives over a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. 3 years of systematic betrayal was a misunderstanding. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my laptop and started composing the speech I would give at the anniversary party. I had 2 weeks to perfect it. 2 weeks to gather every piece of evidence. 2 weeks until everyone would know the truth. And I was going to make sure it was spectacular. Would you give them a chance to explain privately before the public confrontation? Or is public exposure the only justice? But there was one more secret I hadn't uncovered yet. One more betrayal that would come to light the night before the anniversary party. And it would change everything I thought I knew about why this had happened. Because Jessica hadn't just wanted David. She'd wanted my entire life. And she'd been planning to take it for much, much longer than 3 years.
The night before the anniversary party, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, the bed I'd shared with David for 15 years, staring at the ceiling, rehearsing my speech. Tomorrow at 7 p.m., in front of 150 guests, I would destroy the carefully constructed lies that had been my life for 3 years. Everything was ready. Marcus had prepared a presentation with all the evidence, photographs, text messages, hotel receipts, fertility clinic records. William had advised me one last time to reconsider, to handle it privately. I'd ignored him. At 2 a.m., I gave up on sleep and went downstairs to make tea. That's when I noticed the light on in the basement. We rarely used our basement. It was unfinished, mostly storage. Boxes from our wedding, Lily's old baby clothes. Things we couldn't throw away but didn't need anymore. David had claimed a corner of it as his home office when he worked from home, but he hadn't used it in over a year. I walked down the wooden stairs, my footsteps echoing in the concrete space. The light was coming from David's old desk area. I must have forgotten to turn it off earlier when I was looking for the boxes of photographs for tomorrow's presentation. As I reached for the light switch, my foot kicked something. A box, half hidden under the desk. It had tipped over, spilling papers across the floor. I bent down to clean up the mess. Legal documents, old tax returns, nothing interesting. But at the bottom of the box, I saw something that made my heart stop. A journal, leather-bound, expensive-looking, with a small lock that had been broken open. Jessica's handwriting on the inside cover. Private, Jessica Marie Anderson. I should have put it back. Should have walked away, but my hands were already opening it, flipping to the first page. The entry was dated 8 years ago, 2 months before I introduced Jessica to David. Sarah called today to tell me she's been dating someone new. His name is David Walsh. She sounds happy, annoyingly happy. She sent me a photo of him. He's attractive, successful, everything I'd want in a man. She says she thinks he might be the one. God, I hate when she talks like that. Like she deserves to find a perfect man when I'm still alone. My hands trembled as I turned the page. Met David today. Sarah brought him to Chicago and insisted I have dinner with them. He's even better in person. Smart, charming, wealthy. He works in investment banking. He's everything I've been trying to find. And Sarah has him. Of course she does. Sarah always gets what I want. I flipped forward, my heart pounding. Sarah and David are engaged. She showed me the ring, 3 carats, platinum, beautiful. She was crying, she was so happy. I smiled and hugged her and told her I was thrilled for her. But all I could think was, that should be my ring. That should be my engagement. Why does she get everything? Further into the journal. I'm moving back to Chicago. I told Sarah it's for a better job opportunity. Really, it's because I can't stand watching her plan this wedding from a distance. If I'm here, at least I can be part of it. At least I can be close to David. The entries during my wedding planning were poison. Sarah asked me to be her maid of honor. I said yes, obviously. It gives me access to everything, the venue, the guest list, the honeymoon plans. I know it's sick, but I keep imagining it's my wedding, my dress, my future with David. Helped Sarah with dress shopping today. She looked beautiful in the dress she chose. I told her it was perfect, but I also subtly pointed out that it made her hips look wide. She immediately started second-guessing herself. It was so easy. The wedding is tomorrow. Sarah is staying at her parents' house tonight, tradition, so David is alone at their new place. I went over with a bottle of wine. Told him I wanted to toast his last night of freedom. We talked for hours. He's nervous about the commitment. I told him that's normal. That Sarah is lucky to have him, that any woman would be. He looked at me when I said that. Really looked at me. I wonder if he felt it too. The connection. I felt sick. I turned to the entries after my wedding. They're back from their honeymoon. Sarah won't stop talking about how perfect it was, how David is the best husband, how lucky she is. I smile and agree and die a little inside every time. Then 3 years ago, the first crack. Sarah called crying today. She and David had a huge fight about him working late constantly. She doesn't understand the pressure he's under. She's so selfish, making everything about her needs. I told her she needs to be more supportive. After I hung up, I texted David to see if he was okay. He responded immediately. Said he appreciated that someone understood him. We texted until 3 a.m. There it was. The beginning. David and I have been texting every day now. He confides in me about his marriage problems, about how Sarah doesn't appreciate him, about how she's changed since having Lily, become boring, domestic. I listen. I validate. I make him feel seen. It's so easy. The entries became more calculated. Strategy. Make Sarah more insecure about the marriage so she pushes David away. Make David feel unappreciated so he pulls away from Sarah. Position myself as the understanding friend to both of them. Eventually, they'll realize I'm the better option. Or rather, David will realize it. Sarah will just be collateral damage. Collateral damage? That's what she was to me. Told Sarah today that David seems stressed. That maybe she's not taking good enough care of him. Suggested she's gained weight since having Lily. She got defensive, but I saw it land. She'll internalize it. She always does. Tomorrow I'll text David and ask if things are okay at home. He'll open up. The seeds are planted. Page after page of manipulation, detailed plans to sabotage my marriage, notes on David's likes and dislikes, his vulnerabilities, his complaints about me. Jessica had been studying my husband like a predator studying prey. Then, 3 years ago, the entry that made my blood run cold. It happened. Finally. David and I slept together. Sarah was at her mother's house with Lily for the weekend. David called me, drunk, saying he was lonely. I went over. One thing led to another. It was perfect. He was perfect, and now he's mine. Sarah just doesn't know it yet. I had to put the journal down, had to breathe, but I couldn't stop. I kept reading. The guilt is eating David alive. He wants to confess to Sarah. I can't let that happen. Not yet. I need to make him dependent on me first. So I told him that if he confesses, it'll destroy Sarah, that she's already fragile, that the kind thing to do is to end the marriage gently, make her think it's her idea. He agreed. God, men are so easy to manipulate when you make them think they're being noble. 2 years ago, the plan is working perfectly. Sarah thinks her marriage is falling apart naturally. She has no idea I'm the one pulling the strings. David thinks he's protecting her by lying. Neither of them see me as the threat. I'm just helpful, supportive Jessica, Sarah's best friend, David's confidant, the invisible puppet master. 18 months ago. Took Sarah out for drinks. She was crying about David forgetting their anniversary. I held her while she sobbed, told her she deserved better. Then I texted David and told him I was disappointed in him, that Sarah was falling apart, that maybe he should just end things instead of stringing her along. He's so close to asking for the divorce, just a little more pressure. 1 year ago, David said he wants to file for divorce. Finally, I told him to wait a few more months to make sure Sarah is prepared. Really, I need to make sure everything's in place. I need to be certain he'll come to me after, that Sarah won't try to win him back, that when the dust settles, David and I will be together and Sarah will be alone, where she belongs. 6 months ago, started going to the fertility clinic. Once David files for a divorce and he's with me, I want to get pregnant quickly, cement our relationship, give him the family he really wants. Sarah only gave him 1 child. I'll give him 2 or 3. I'll be the wife she never could be, the mother, the partner, everything. The most recent entry was dated 1 week ago, the day after I confronted Jessica at the coffee shop.
Sarah knows. She confronted me with the text messages. She's going to expose everything at the anniversary party. I need to do damage control. I need to convince David that Sarah is unstable, vindictive, that she's making things up, that the text messages were taken out of context. I need to make him choose me definitively. Maybe I tell him I'm pregnant. Even if I'm not yet, I could make him believe it. He'd never leave me then. I closed the journal and sat on the cold basement floor, my whole body shaking. This wasn't just an affair. This wasn't even just a systematic destruction of my marriage. This was 8 years of obsession. 8 years of Jessica methodically planning to take my life. She'd infiltrated my wedding, my home, my daughter's life, all while plotting to replace me. And David had been a willing participant for 3 years, but before that, he'd been a target. Jessica had groomed him, isolated him from me, manipulated him into believing our marriage was dying when really she was killing it. I took photos of every page of the journal with my phone. Then I called Marcus Chen. "It's 3 a.m., he answered groggily. I found something. Jessica's diary. 8 years of planning. She's been obsessed with taking my life since before David and I got married. Silence. Then, Jesus Christ. Send me photos. I'll add it to tomorrow's presentation. Marcus, this changes everything. She's not just a homewrecker. I don't even know what to call this. In psychological terms, it's called obsessive rivalry disorder. She's been competing with you for your entire friendship, and David became the trophy. Sarah, you need to be careful. People like this, when their plans fall apart, they can become dangerous. Dangerous how? Unpredictable. Desperate. If Jessica realizes you're going to expose 8 years of obsession in front of everyone she knows, she might do something drastic. I thought about the fertility clinic, about Jessica's plan to trap David with a fake pregnancy, about the cold calculation in her journal entries. I'm not canceling the party. She needs to face what she's done. I'm not saying cancel it. I'm saying maybe we should arrange for security, just in case. After I hung up with Marcus, I sat in the basement holding Jessica's journal and thought about our 20-year friendship. I tried to pinpoint when it had turned toxic, when Jessica's admiration had curdled into resentment.
But reading the journal, I realized the truth. It had always been toxic. From the very beginning, Jessica hadn't been my friend. She'd been my competitor, my saboteur, my enemy. Every kind word had been calculated. Every piece of advice had been poisoned. Every hug had been a lie. 20 years of my life built on a foundation of someone else's obsession. I climbed the stairs and walked to Lily's room. She was sleeping peacefully, her nightlight casting stars across the ceiling. I sat on the edge of her bed and watched her breathe. Tomorrow, I would blow up our lives. Tomorrow, everyone would know the truth. Tomorrow, Lily would learn that the woman she called Auntie Jess had been trying to destroy her family for years. Was I doing the right thing? Or was I about to traumatize my daughter for the sake of revenge? My phone buzzed. A text from David. I don't know what you're planning for tomorrow, but Sarah, please, think about Lily. Don't do this to her. I texted back. You should have thought about Lily 3 years ago. Then, I blocked his number. I went to my bedroom and opened my closet, pushed aside the everyday clothes until I found it, the dress I'd been saving. Red, stunning, expensive. I'd bought it 2 years ago for a charity gala, but David had said it was too much, and I'd never worn it. Tomorrow, I would wear it. Tomorrow, I would stand in front of everyone in a red dress that said I was not a victim. I was not defeated. I was not the pathetic, abandoned wife they might expect to see. Tomorrow, I would be fire. I tried on the dress. It still fit perfectly. I paired it with black heels that made me 6 feet tall. I did my makeup, dark lipstick, dramatic eyes. I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. She looked strong, fierce, unbreakable. You've got this, I told my reflection. My phone rang. Jessica. I let it go to voicemail. She called again and again. On the 4th call, I answered. What?
Sarah, please. Her voice was desperate, breaking. Please don't do this tomorrow. I'm begging you. I'll leave Chicago. I'll never contact David again. Just please don't expose me in front of everyone. You should have thought about that 8 years ago when you decided to destroy my life. I never meant. I found your journal, Jessica, the one in David's basement, the one where you documented every manipulation, every lie, every cruel thing you did to me over 8 years. The silence on the other end was absolute. Tomorrow, I continued, everyone is going to see exactly who you are. They're going to read your words, your plans, your sick obsession with taking everything I have. And then they're going to watch you try to explain it. Sarah, I'm sorry. I know I'm sick. I know I need help. But please, you're not sorry. You're scared. There's a difference. I hung up. She called back immediately. I didn't answer. She called 17 more times. I turned off my phone. At 6 a.m., I gave up on sleep entirely. I made coffee. I reviewed Marcus's presentation one last time. I added photos from Jessica's journal. I practiced my speech in the mirror. By 3 p.m., I was ready. The party started at 6. Guests would arrive at 5:30. I'd scheduled my speech for 7, after dinner, before dessert, when everyone was seated, relaxed, unprepared. I put on the red dress, the heels, the makeup. I looked like I was going to war, because I was. At 4:30,
My doorbell rang. I opened it to find David standing there, looking haggard. "Don't do this," he said without preamble. "Sarah, I'm asking you, begging you, don't do this. Get out of my house. I'll give you anything, full custody of Lily, the house, all the money. Just please don't humiliate me in front of my entire family." I smiled. It felt like breaking glass. "You humiliated yourself, David. I'm just making sure everyone sees it clearly. You're going to destroy Jessica too. She's a predator who spent 8 years plotting to steal my husband. Yes, I'm going to destroy her. That's the point." David's face crumpled. "Sarah, please, I know I hurt you. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But Jessica, she's fragile. If you do this, it might break her completely." "Good," I said, and closed the door in his face. At 5:15, I got in my car and drove to the venue. A beautiful restaurant in Lincoln Park with a private event space we'd rented. The same restaurant where David had proposed to me 15 years ago. The same restaurant where, according to Jessica's journal, David had taken her for their first anniversary of sleeping together celebration. Last year, full circle. As I pulled into the parking lot, I saw guests already arriving. David's mother, Victoria, my parents, friends I hadn't seen in months because I'd been too depressed to socialize. They all thought they were coming to celebrate. They had no idea they were about to witness an execution. I checked my phone one last time. 37 missed calls from Jessica, 42 text messages. The latest one said, "I'm not coming. I can't face this." Too late. I'd already hired security to make sure she didn't leave early. I walked into the venue in my red dress and heels, and every head turned. Let them look. Let them see what a woman who's done being a victim looks like. The party was about to begin, and it was going to be unforgettable. The party was beautiful. White roses everywhere, soft jazz playing, waiters circulating with champagne and hors d'oeuvres, laughter and conversation filling the elegant space. Everyone dressed in their best, celebrating what they believed was a love story that had survived 15 years. They had no idea they were attending a funeral. I stood near the entrance, greeting guests as they arrived, playing the role of gracious hostess one last time. My mother hugged me, commenting on how stunning I looked. "That dress, Sarah, you're glowing." I wasn't glowing. I was burning. David's mother, Victoria, arrived with his 2 brothers. She kissed my cheek with her usual cool affection. "Lovely party, Sarah, though I'm surprised you went to all this trouble given the circumstances." "What circumstances?" I asked innocently. She looked uncomfortable. "Well, David mentioned you two were having difficulties. I assumed this party was a last-ditch effort to save things." "Oh, this party isn't about saving anything," I said with a smile. "It's about truth." Victoria's eyes narrowed. But before she could respond, more guests arrived and she moved on. At 6:15, Jessica walked in. She looked terrible. Her makeup couldn't hide the dark circles under her eyes. Her hands trembled as she accepted a glass of champagne from a passing waiter. She was wearing a conservative navy dress, nothing like her usual attention-seeking outfits. She was trying to blend in, to be invisible. Too late for that. Our eyes met across the room. I raised my champagne glass to her in a mock toast. She went pale and turned away. David arrived at 6:30, looking like a man walking to his execution, which, in a sense, he was. He found me immediately. "Sarah, please, it's not too late to call this off." "Call what off? The party? Everyone's already here, David. It would be rude to cancel now." "You know what I mean." I looked at my husband, soon-to-be ex-husband, and felt absolutely nothing. No love, no hate, no regret, just a cold, crystalline clarity. I said, "Enjoy the party. Dinner's being served in 15 minutes. By 7 o'clock, everyone was seated. Long tables arranged in a U-shape, with David and me at the head table. Jessica had been seated at the far end, next to people she didn't know well. Strategic positioning by the event coordinator, who'd been given very specific instructions. My parents sat to my right. beaming with pride at their daughter's anniversary celebration. If only they knew.
David's family filled the left side. His mother, brothers, their wives, various cousins and colleagues from his firm, friends I'd made over 15 years of marriage, people I'd invited to my home, cooked for, confided in, people who were about to see me in a completely different light. The meal was excellent. Filet mignon, roasted vegetables, a beautiful wine pairing. Conversation flowed. People kept coming up to congratulate us, to comment on how wonderful we looked together, to toast to 15 more years. I smiled and nodded and felt my heart turn to ice with each well-meaning word. At 7:45, the waitstaff cleared the dinner plates. The restaurant manager approached me with a microphone. "Mrs. Anderson, whenever you're ready for speeches." "Thank you. I'm ready now." I stood up and the room gradually quieted. All eyes turned to me, the woman in the red dress, standing at the head of the table like a queen about to address her court. "Thank you all so much for coming tonight," I began, my voice steady and clear. "David and I are so grateful to have you here to celebrate this milestone with us." Murmurs of approval, smiles. David was staring at his plate, his jaw clenched. 15 years of marriage, I continued. It's a significant number. 15 years of building a life together, raising our daughter, creating a home. 15 years of trust, partnership, and love. I paused, letting the word love hang in the air. Or at least, that's what I thought we were building. The room shifted. People glanced at each other, confused. You see, I learned something recently, something that changes the entire narrative of our marriage, something I think you all deserve to know, since you're here celebrating with us. David stood up abruptly. "Sarah, don't sit down, David." My voice was sharp, commanding. He sat. I pulled out a small remote control and clicked it. Behind me, a screen lowered from the ceiling, something I'd arranged with the venue manager earlier. The first image appeared. A text message from Jessica to David.
"This is from 2 years ago," I explained calmly. "A conversation between my husband and my best friend, Jessica Anderson." "Jessica, would you mind standing so everyone knows who you are?" All heads turned to the far end of the table. Jessica remained frozen in her seat. "Stand up, Jessica," I repeated. "Don't be shy. Everyone here knows you. You've been at every birthday, every holiday, every celebration for the past 8 years. You've been part of our family." Slowly, like a puppet on strings, Jessica stood. Her face was the color of paper. "Thank you." I clicked to the next slide. This message is from Jessica telling David that I'm a mess and that he deserves better. This was sent 11 minutes after I called her, crying about my marriage. While I was seeking comfort from my best friend, she was undermining me to my husband. Gasps rippled through the room. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. I clicked through more messages, reading them aloud, each one more damning than the last. Jessica telling David I was a bad mother, David complaining to Jessica about our sex life, Jessica suggesting David should leave me. Back and forth, 847 messages over 2 years. A systematic destruction of my marriage played out in blue and gray text bubbles. But the texts were just the beginning, I continued. I clicked to the next slide. A photo of David and Jessica entering the Palmer House Hotel, timestamp visible. Another photo. Them at a restaurant, holding hands. Another, walking through Millennium Park, his arm around her waist. This affair has been going on for approximately 3 years, I said. My voice was steady, clinical. They've met at hotels, restaurants, Jessica's apartment. At least 15 documented encounters over 8 months, but likely more before that. David's mother stood up, her face white. "This is preposterous. Sarah, how dare you?" "I dare because it's true, Victoria." I clicked to the next slide. Hotel receipts in David's name. Every one of these can be verified. My attorney has already done so. Victoria sat down heavily. David's brothers were staring at him with expressions of shock and disgust. But wait, I said with a smile that felt like poison. There's more. I clicked to photos from Jessica's journal, her handwriting blown up on the screen for everyone to read. This is Jessica's private diary, 8 years of entries documenting her plan to steal my husband.
I read excerpts. The entry about meeting David before our wedding and wishing he was hers. The one about moving to Chicago to be close to him. The detailed strategies for sabotaging my marriage. The cold calculation of every manipulation. With each entry I read, the room's horror grew more palpable. People were openly staring at Jessica now, who had collapsed back into her chair, her head in her hands. And here's my personal favorite, I said, clicking to the fertility clinic receipt. Jessica has been trying to get pregnant with David's child, without his knowledge, by the way. She was planning to trap him with a baby once our divorce was finalized. David's head snapped up. What? Oh, you didn't know? I turned to him with mock surprise. Your girlfriend has been seeing a fertility specialist, tracking her ovulation, planning to get pregnant so you'd feel obligated to stay with her. It's all documented in her journal. She even wrote about potentially faking a pregnancy if the real one didn't happen fast enough. The room exploded. Everyone was talking at once. David was staring at Jessica with an expression of betrayal that would have been funny if it wasn't so tragic. Jessica was sobbing, her face in her hands, her shoulders shaking. Sarah, that's enough, my father said, standing up. You've made your point. Have I? I clicked it to another slide. Photos from college. Because I haven't even gotten to the part where Jessica sabotaged every relationship I had before David. Where she seduced my college boyfriends. Where she's been competing with me, trying to destroy my happiness for 20 years. I read messages from Marcus and Ryan, my college exes, confirming Jessica's interference in those relationships. 20 years, I repeated. 2 decades of pretending to be my friend while actively working to ruin my life. And you all believed it. You all thought Jessica was my loyal best friend, my daughter's loving godmother, a good person. I turned to Jessica, who was still sobbing into her hands. Stand up, I commanded. She didn't move. I said, stand up. My voice cracked like a whip. Slowly, Jessica stood. Mascara was streaming down her face. Her hands were shaking. She looked like she might collapse. Tell them, I said. Tell everyone why you did this. Tell them about your obsession with taking my life. Sarah, please, she whispered. Please don't make me. You made me doubt my sanity for 3 years. You made me feel crazy for suspecting my husband was cheating when I knew he was. You destroyed my marriage, manipulated my husband, and tried to steal my family. The least you can do is tell everyone why. Jessica was crying so hard she could barely speak. Because I wanted what you had, she finally gasped out. Because you always had everything. Because men always chose you over me, even though I was prettier, smarter, more successful. Because David should have been mine from the beginning, but he chose you instead. Louder, I said. Everyone needs to hear this. Because I hated you, Jessica screamed. I hated you for having the perfect life while I had nothing. I hated you for being happy. I hated that David loved you, so I decided to take it all away from you. Is that what you want to hear? The silence that followed was deafening. Yes, I said quietly. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. I turned back to the room. So, there you have it. The truth about my marriage, the truth about my best friend, the truth about the last 3 years of my life. I looked at David. I'm divorcing you. You'll be hearing from my attorney about the terms, which will not be favorable. You can try to fight it, but every message, every photo, every journal entry will be entered as evidence. You'll lose.
Then I looked at Jessica. As for you, I never want to see you again. You're no longer Lily's godmother. You're no longer welcome in my home, my life, or anywhere near my family. If you try to contact me or my daughter, I'll follow a restraining order. I clicked off the presentation and the screen went dark. Enjoy the rest of the party, I said into the microphone. Dessert will be served shortly. I walked out of that restaurant with my head held high, leaving behind a room of shocked silence. Outside, I breathed in the cool evening air and felt something I hadn't felt in 3 years. Free. My phone buzzed. A text from my lawyer, William. I watched the video feed you gave me access to. That was quite something. Are you okay? I text back. I'm perfect. Another text, this one from Marcus Chen. You're my new hero. That was the most epic divorce announcement I've ever witnessed.
I smiled. Then I got in my car and drove to my parents' house, where Lily was staying with them for the night. I told them about the party's true purpose beforehand, sworn them to secrecy. They'd agreed to keep Lily away. When I walked in, Lily ran to me. "Mommy, how was the party?" I scooped her up, breathing in her little girl smell. It was exactly what it needed to be. My mother looked at me with concern. "Are you all right?" "I am," and I meant it. That night, I lay in my childhood bedroom. My parents had insisted I stay the night, and checked social media. The party had gone viral. Someone had recorded part of my speech on their phone. It was everywhere. Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. The comments were overwhelmingly supportive. "Queen behavior. This is how you handle betrayal. Jessica and David are trash. I hope Sarah finds someone who deserves her." There were negative comments too, of course. People saying I was vindictive, cruel, that I should have handled it privately, that I'd traumatized everyone at the party. I didn't care. I told the truth. And the truth, however painful, was better than living in lies. 3 days later, Jessica left Chicago. No goodbye, no forwarding address, just gone. Like she'd been when she ran from her previous scandals. David moved into an apartment downtown, filed for divorce with the terms I dictated, didn't fight for custody. He knew he'd lose. 6 months later, I was sitting in my new condo. I had sold the house, couldn't live there anymore, when my doorbell rang. I opened it to find a woman I didn't recognize. "Sarah Anderson?" she asked. "Yes, my name is Catherine Perry. I was married to Jessica's boss in Los Angeles, the one she had an affair with before she moved to Chicago. I invited her in. Over coffee, Catherine told me her story, how Jessica had systematically destroyed her marriage, how she'd blamed herself for years, how seeing my viral video had finally made her realize it wasn't her fault. Jessica was a predator who targeted happy marriages and destroyed them for sport. She wanted to thank me for speaking up, for showing me I wasn't crazy, for exposing her for what she really is. We talked for hours. She told me about a support group she'd started online for women whose marriages had been destroyed by predators like Jessica. Asked if I'd be willing to share my story there. I said yes. Over the next year, 5 more women came forward. 5 more marriages Jessica had targeted. 5 more families she'd tried to destroy. We built a network, a community of survivors who refused to be silenced. Jessica tried to reinvent herself in Portland, changed her name again, back to Melissa Harper this time, started working at a small marketing firm. But someone from our support group recognized her and warned her new coworkers. She was fired within a week. Last I heard, she was living in her parents' basement in Oregon, working retail. David tried to reconcile, sent me letters, flowers, tearful voicemails, insisted Jessica had manipulated him, that he'd been a victim too. Maybe he had been at first, but he'd made the choice to continue the affair for 3 years. He'd made the choice to lie to me, to gaslight me, to make me doubt my own sanity. I never responded to his attempts at contact. Lily adjusted. She was young enough that the divorce didn't destroy her,
but old enough to understand that sometimes people we trust hurt us. We got her a therapist. She stopped asking about Auntie Jess after a few months. As for me, I started over. Sold the house, bought a condo, changed my hair, changed my style, started therapy to work through 20 years of a toxic friendship I hadn't recognized as toxic. Met someone new, a kind man named Robert, who knew my whole story and loved me anyway, who understood that trust would take time, who was patient. 2 years after the anniversary party, I stood in Robert's living room and looked at his bookshelf. Saw a leather journal tucked between two larger books. My heart stopped. "Robert, what's that journal?" He pulled it out confused. "This? It's my old diary from college. Haven't looked at it in years. Why?" I took it from him, hands shaking, and flipped through it. Random college memories, notes about classes, nothing sinister. "Sarah, what's wrong?" I realized I was crying. "Nothing. I had a moment of panic." He pulled me into his arms. "Jessica isn't coming back. She can't hurt you anymore." He was right. She couldn't. But sometimes, late at night, I still wake up checking my phone. Still worry that Jessica will reappear with another name, another plan, another obsession. Marcus Chen assured me she won't. Predators like Jessica need anonymity to operate. You took that from her. Her face, her name, her entire history is documented online now. She can't hide anymore. I hope he's right. But I learned something important through all of this. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. If someone makes you doubt your own reality, they're manipulating you. And sometimes the people closest to us, the ones we trust most completely, are the ones capable of the deepest betrayal. 20 years of friendship, 15 years of marriage, all of it built on lies. But I survived. I rebuilt. I learned. And I wrote this story so that maybe someone else reading this will recognize the signs before it's too late. If you have a friend who always wants what you have, who subtly undermines you while claiming to support you, who gets too close to your spouse, trust your gut. Ask questions. Dig deeper. Don't wait for the 847 text messages to expose the truth, because by then, 3 years of your life will already be gone. So I ask you one final time, would you have done what I did? Would you have exposed them publicly? Or would you have handled it differently? Let me know in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from. Tell me your thoughts. Because this story is real. The names are changed, but the betrayal, the manipulation, the 3 years of lies, all of it happened. And I want you to know, if it's happening to you right now, you're not crazy. You're not paranoid. You're not imagining things. Trust yourself. Protect yourself. And when the time comes, don't be afraid to speak your truth, even if your voice shakes, even if people call you vindictive, even if the world says you should have stayed quiet. Speak anyway, because silence protects predators, and truth, however painful, sets you free.